Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving into something that's probably going to completely flip how you look at the static greenery all around us. I mean, we see plants every single day, right? They're chilling in our living rooms, lining our sidewalks, and, filling our dinner plates. But it's so easy to just see them as this passive background noise to our human lives. So what if we pulled back the curtain? Let's take a look at their secret, totally dynamic, and honestly incredibly complex lives. Just think about this for a second. How exactly does an organism with no mouth, no stomach, and absolutely zero brain matter manage to survive, eat, and even communicate? It sounds like we're literally describing an alien life form from some sci-fi movie, doesn't it? But we're actually talking about the tree right outside your window right now. To really appreciate just how bizarre and miraculous this whole thing is, we've got to look back at how humans first tried to solve this ultimate botanical puzzle. Okay, let's dive right into this. Part 1, the Great Plant Mystery. For the vast majority of human history, as obvious as plants are, nobody actually had a clue how they gained mass. They seemingly just sprouted out of nowhere. To see how we finally cracked this, let's walk through a 200-year forensic investigation. Back in the 1600s, Jan Baptiste van Helmont spent 5 whole years growing a willow tree in a pot. He super carefully measured the soil and the water, and when the soil barely lost any weight, he actually mistakenly concluded the tree's mass came entirely from the water. Makes sense, right? Well, fast forward to 1774, Joseph Priestley realizes that plants could somehow restore air that had been injured by a burning candle or a breathing mouse. Basically, he had discovered they were pumping out oxygen. A few years later, Jan Ingenhousz notices submerged plants only blow oxygen bubbles when they're sitting in the sun. And finally, by the 1860s, Julius Sachs links the plant's starch production directly to chlorophyll. Piece by piece, these scientists were realizing plants were doing something absolutely incredible. They were literally eating light and air. Which brings us to part 2, unlocking the green machine. So, how do the actual case-closed biochemical mechanics of photosynthesis actually work? Well, the ultimate breakthrough came along in the 1930s. And this brilliantly illustrates it. Cornelius van Niel proposed a general equation for photosynthesis. He showed exactly how carbon dioxide, a hydrogen donor, and light energy all mash together to create organic matter and water. It was basically the mathematical proof of the biological magic happening right inside a leaf. And that huge breakthrough eventually led us to the simplified formula that we commonly use today. 6 molecules of carbon dioxide plus 6 molecules of water plus solar energy gives you sugar and oxygen. This finalized formula proves something completely mind-blowing. Plants literally build themselves out of thin air, water, and sunshine. I mean, they are quite literally solar-powered sugar factories. But, of course, they do need a few more building blocks to maintain those structures. Think of a plant's roots as these microscopic mining operations, constantly absorbing very specific chemicals dissolved in the water. They're grabbing macronutrients like nitrogen, which they need in huge chunks for proteins and cellulose, and then trace amounts of micronutrients like iron and zinc to keep their internal enzymes firing smoothly. That right there is exactly how the green machine sustains itself. Now, to capture that sunlight, plants use these highly specific chemical pigments. We all know chlorophyll makes plants green by absorbing red and blue light and reflecting the green, right? But these other pigments on the list, they aren't just there for human aesthetics. They are absolutely vital functional tools. Take carotenoids. They give us the bright orange in carrots, sure, but they actually act as crucial antioxidants for the plant itself. Anthocyanins provide those deep reds and blues in flowers to flag down pollinators. And betalains, they give beets their dark red color, but scientists think they might even act as fungicides to protect the plant from getting sick. It's like a highly specialized toolkit. Okay, so they've got the ingredients and they've got the solar panels. But how exactly do they move all this stuff around? Let's find out in part 3, the plant plumbing system. To explain this plumbing, I want to pose a kind of fun, totally unexpected question to you. Why is it that aphids, those tiny, super annoying garden pests, why do they always seem to hang out on the underside of leaves instead of sitting on top? It's actually not just to hide from the sun. Nope, it's actually a massive biological clue about plant anatomy. The secret here lies in the plant's dual piping system. Vascular plants basically have 2 main sets of internal pipes. First, you've got the xylem, which transports water and minerals up from the roots. In the leaves, these xylem pipes are oriented right near the top surface. But then you have the phloem. The phloem transports those rich, delicious sugars that the plant just manufactured during photosynthesis, and those pipes are oriented toward the lower surface. So the aphids are hanging out on the bottom of the leaf because they are quite literally tapping into those phloem pipes for a massive sugar rush. It is basically a built-in local syrup tap for them. Now you might be wondering, if these pipes are hardwired into the plant, how does a tiny sapling grow into a massive towering oak tree without just snapping its internal plumbing in half? Well, there is a specialized layer of tissue sandwiched right between the xylem and the phloem, called the vascular cambium. And what this tissue does is it divides off brand new cells, pushing the older ones outward. This is the exact mechanism that allows a tree to grow thicker and stouter over time, which is what we call secondary growth, or just, wood, while constantly renewing its internal piping so nothing breaks. Moving right along to part 4, senses, signals, and survival. Okay, so we established way earlier that plants have absolutely no brain and no nervous system, none. So how on earth do they react to what's happening around them? Well, what's really interesting about this slide is that plants solve this entire communication problem by using chemicals instead of nerves. Plant hormones act as these brilliant internal signal molecules. So instead of a brain sending an electrical pulse down a nerve, a plant just releases hormones that chemically tell different tissues what to do. For example, a gas called ethylene is produced to signal a whole batch of fruit to ripen all at once, or to tell the tree, hey, it's winter, drop your leaves. It is an entirely chemical communication network. And it gets crazier because they don't just feel their environment chemically, they can effectively see it. Plants have these highly specific proteins called photoreceptors. One of them, called phytochrome, detects red light to figure out exactly how long the days and nights are. That way the plant knows precisely what season it is and exactly when it should flower. Another one, called cryptochrome, detects UV light. So based on exactly what colors of light are hitting these specific receptors, the plant will physically alter how it grows. This whole process is called photomorphogenesis. So yeah, they don't have eyeballs, but they are incredibly sensitive to the light bouncing around them. And all of this sensing leads to something you might not expect: movement. Yes, plants actually move, and they possess 2 main types of movement. Tropisms are those slow, directional growth responses you've probably seen, like a houseplant slowly bending toward a sunny window, or roots naturally sensing gravity and growing downward. But then you have nastic movements. These are rapid, non-directional responses based entirely on internal water pressure. When a bug lands on the trigger hairs of a Venus flytrap, the cells rapidly change their internal water pressure, snapping that trap shut in a literal fraction of a second. So even though they're rooted in place, they are incredibly dynamic organisms, actively responding to the world around them. Which brings us to our final section, Part 5, Why Plant Science Matters. So why do we spend so much time and money studying plant physiology? Well, aside from it just being endlessly fascinating, understanding this environmental physiology is quite literally the bedrock of human civilization. We rely on this knowledge to optimize crop ecology, basically figuring out how to plant denser, higher-yielding fields so we can actually feed a massively growing population. And on top of that, pharmaceutical companies spend billions researching these plant compounds. I mean, we wouldn't even have basic pain relievers like aspirin if we hadn't discovered salicylic acid inside plants first. We totally rely on their unique, solar-powered chemical factories to feed us and to heal us every single day. To wrap things up, I really want to leave you with this incredibly profound thought from our source material today. Given the plants do not have pain receptors, nerves, or a brain, they do not feel pain. Their evolutionary successes and failures are simply shaped by life and death. Animals evolved with pain to teach us what to run away from, but plants, they're rooted in place. They can't run. Their entire evolution is this intricate, silent, chemical dance of life and death. It's totally alien to our own human experience, yet it is happening constantly all around us. The next time you look at a tree outside your window, I really hope you see it for what it truly is: a brilliant, breathing, green machine. It really makes you wonder, what other completely alien secrets are hiding in plain sight right in your own backyard? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.